It's interesting to me how often I'll photograph something, seeing it in one way, and then as I start processing it, things will appear to me that I didn't see necessarily when I was making the photograph.
I was a stay-at-home parent for quite a long time, and when my daughter went to middle school, I wanted to kind of pursue some kind of artistic ideas at that time, although I wasn't planning on becoming an artist at that time. I was just playing. But what I did want to do is I wanted to have a medium that was physical in some way, and I chose Lego because it's so tactile and it's such a versatile medium, and I just chose it and I played with it, and over time I developed the kind of 3D kind of structure you can use with it. So it wasn't a deliberate idea, but I just wanted a physical medium, and this was kind of, we had Lego at home and I started playing with it, and it just kind of organically grew from there without me even kind of intending it.
I started it last fall, and then I kept playing with it, especially the edges and the background, and then I added a few pieces on top. So I started off using Floetrol and a stacked, color system, and then I used a hair dryer and a Bunsen burner, and then added some artistic flourishes to it, and then I played with the edges and added some colors during the COVID period. Some people want to buy this, but I'm holding on to it because it gives me a certain nourishment.
I had been photographing my normal stuff, models and art sort of things, up until the very early week in March. And when things started to shut down, I said, I'm not going to sit in the house all day. Fortunately, the local parks, the Metuchen parks, stayed open. And there's a spot behind Edgar School called Edgar Woods. So I went back there, had the fisheye lens with me, and I looked up. And I saw this really interesting group of trees with this hole in the middle of them looking up towards the sky. And I thought, this will be really interesting.
I was asked by a British artist called Ian Berry to work on a project that he'd started in the United Kingdom during COVID. The project was called I Clap 4, where he designed in his own medium, which is denim, clapping hands, two hands that were, when you put together in an animated GIF, would produce clapping hands. And that project, he had that projected on buildings, public buildings around Europe. And this was going on for several weeks, and after a while he thought he would like to expand the project to other artists, because clapping was a kind of a useful, universal way people could show gratitude to frontline workers for what they were doing. And he asked about 20 international artists to work in their own mediums and to come up with their own versions of the clapping hands, which would then be used as a bigger projection of a series of clapping hands projected on public buildings.
This is a poured acrylic piece, and I call it Cosmic Booger because, we're going through these COVID times, and you see all these pictorial representations. So I wanted to sort of grasp the chaos of the moment and the sort of biological reality of the moment. So I wanted to create something that was almost like a God molecule, that had like the rainbow in it. It had a healing nature in it, something that would inspire. So there's a little bit of green in the center, and almost like a galaxy within a galaxy within a cell.
The whole COVID thing was quite a difficult period creatively. It was very awkward for a lot of people. So to be asked to do I usually do like portraits and figurative work of things, and I was asked to do hands, which is kind of like doing two studies of hands, which is quite a very awkward kind of thing to be asked to do, but it was kind of a challenge that I really enjoyed doing. The other thing, he said he wanted the colour of the pieces to be kind of race neutral, and because Ian's work is in denim, which is predominantly blue, I went for a blue palette.
The fisheye lens is circular. The image tends to the edges curve in. But with this arrangement, it doesn't look like it curves in. Everything just converges to the center. Brought it home, put it in the computer, made it black and white, because I knew that that's what I was going to do anyway. Darkened the sky a little bit, and looked at it and said, there's a heart there. I posted it online, didn't say anything about that, and several people commented about, that's amazing that you caught this heart shape in the sky.
It was a very, I'm not going to say you were depressed, but it was a very difficult time. Creatively, I felt very low. You kind of had anxieties about all the things, the situation. And when he asked me to do this, it actually gave me a real sense of pride. And although this is such a small thing compared to what the people, the frontline workers have done for us, it's a tiny, tiny measure or showing of gratitude. But it really gave me a huge uplifting and sense of pride that I could contribute to this project and to be part of that we all want to show our thanks to the people for what they did for us during that time.
There's a little bit of danger in it, and there's some darkness, and there's a blood red tones. But I think the core of it is one of opening and seeing the longer haul, the future, that will develop immunities to this and move on.
It represents sort of this hope that we're going to get through this, and this vision that says no matter what's going on, And I walked back there about a week or two ago to that same spot, and of course it looks completely different now because there's leaves on all those trees. And I didn't even photograph it because it didn't even speak to me in a way. So this was that moment, just as the nature was sort of coming back and saying, "We're still here, and this will not, none of this will go away. We'll be here, and when people come back out again, we'll still be here."
But I want this to be more expansive, that there are healing qualities within us, to look beyond the COVID. And just calling it cosmic booger is sort of like a humorous element to it. It looks sort of weird and nasty and organic, but there's enough colors in it, and I think it's dynamic enough that it'll bring some joy to people.
I see it as hope. I think that it may have felt anxious at the time, but now that I really look at it, especially when I finally spotted the heart in there, I said, okay, that's nature speaking to us and saying this is going to be okay. At some point this will be okay.
You kind of realize how many people are affected, how many people do want to say thank you to the people who were out there on the front lines, particularly in those, those really peak months when hospitals were overwhelmed. If we can all feel that kind of sense of gratitude, because it's really important, and a lot of those frontline workers were not getting the thanks they deserved, and to realise they put their lives on the line to save many, many lives.